Just do one pallet at a time, one item at a time, and live and learn from each time.
All right. So let's get into it. How long have you been working with direct liquidation, and was that sort of where you started, or where did you begin this whole journey?
We had found out about liquidation and we found out about the whole industry, um, over a year ago. And so, immediately the first thing we do is we Google it. And of course, you guys have pretty good, what do you call it? Placement on Google. So I type in liquidation, you first want to pop up, uh, go on the website, and before you know it, I was buying a couple of pallets on the bids. And me and myself, I got in my pickup truck and I drove and picked up some pallets. Turned out to be very, very good. So we did that. We were buying pallets, um, and we were selling the items individually. And we found that the description of the pallets is pretty good. The manifests are pretty spot on, and there was a lot of room to resell and make money. So immediately, I think within the first, like when we brought all the pallets back, me and Jerry, my father, we started taking everything out of the pallets and adding up what the potential profit was versus what we paid, and immediately we were just excited and interested and wanted to see if it would actually work. So we did a couple of yard sales and we posted on Facebook a couple of times to sell the items. And I think within like 2 days we sold everything we had gotten. And we profited and we were sold. And so we had to figure out how to almost immediately we were trying to figure out how we can scale it, how we can do more than just one pallet, right? So we bought 3 pallets and then we bought a trailer. And next thing you know, I'm taking my truck and trailer up to Blacksburg to pick up more pallets. And a truck and trailer turned into us having to get a warehouse. So we were out of our garage and we ended up getting a little warehouse to bring the pallets and store it. And we set up shelves and stuff. Um, so that's kind of the beginning of our journey. That's the first, I would say, first quarter of our journey to where we are now.
So you really hit the ground running. There was a lot of success at the beginning.
Yeah, we, with my background and his background, I feel like this was something that we're really strong in. We both have been in sales. We both, uh, are pretty good with our hands with marketing and we were able to fix some stuff. I think that I bring to the table more of a mechanical and a fixing background and more hands-on background. And the strength with my dad is he's able to look at things from 10,000 feet and manage. And so me and him together are just really good partners. I know it's crazy to think that you work with family and do it so well, but me and him have just been so good together that it just we've grown it to this now through good teamwork. So
It's amazing. So what how did you decide what type of products to initially source?
yeah, so that was a big part of it. You want to look at what is desirable versus what is undesirable. So if you have desirable products, that's the stuff that people are gonna want immediately. Um,
Like
so
what?
you try to like what? I'll tell you, tools, um, things around the house like kitchen appliances, small appliances, big appliances too. People like refrigerators and people do like electronics, but electronics are good. It's just a big there's a big difference between desirable and undesirable electronics. So electronics, they like let's say like a coffee maker that's going to be around for 10 years, right? People are always going to want coffee, but there might be an iPhone cord, a charger that a year from now it's not going to be any good because there's a new charger. So we had to learn what to buy and what not to buy. We did some research on the market. We also looked at what other people were selling. If it's on Facebook or if it's on eBay or wherever it is for sale, it's probably because it's selling. So we
Right.
just had to we also asked people I mean, that's one of the best ways to do it too, is just asking the customers that had already bought from us, hey, what would you guys like to see us sell next? You know, so really asking the community and also doing your research too. It's very important.
Yeah, that sounds like a winning strategy. So when you said desirable versus undesirable, do you sort of mean the things that can become obsolete kind of quickly versus what type of products have lasting power?
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think another thing, Elena, I want to add to that too, that's key to being successful in this is that you have to personally remove your emotion of the product. Okay. You don't want to buy based on your emotion. You
Yes.
have to look at the general public and what my son is saying is desirable. Because one of the things that you may do as a buyer, as a liquidator, is have the tendency to buy stuff you like. And that doesn't mean the market may like that. So I always told my son from the beginning, when you're looking at buying stuff, remove your personal emotion of what Jordan likes. Look at the general public, and that will help you be successful because you want to sell to the mass, not to the minute.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a boss once that would always say, take the emotion out. Look at
Yes,
the
Yeah.
data.
always, 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 always. Yep.
So you guys had a background in sales, I think you mentioned, but was it a different type of sales?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I've been in commercial finance and sales for over 30 years in corporate America. My son has a wide, vast background, as he mentioned. The mechanical aspect, he is a problem solver and very good also with his hands. And that is something I am not good at. And so our teamwork together, as he alluded to, worked well because I have run companies and I can see things from 10,000 feet. And I always look at scaling a business. What can we do to scale it? And I understand how to market to people, how to keep them engaged. And my son was on the mechanical side, the operational side. Those were things that he did well. So I think that has been part of our success. And also just learning to work with one another and knowing what is our strength, what is our weakness, and allowing that to happen.
Right. So, obviously you had great success, but were there some mistakes that you made in the beginning?
Yeah.
Tell us
Definitely.
about
Yeah,
those.
yeah, those were from sometimes, there is always risk in liquidation. And that is something that we had to not only learn for ourselves, but we explain to customers today. And that, you may have 5 really good pallets in a row, and then you may hit 1 or 2 that may have a higher breakage in them. And then it's up to you to work through that, right? Because it is a business and it is a profit and loss, and you have to work it as a whole. It's not just one item or just one pallet. You have to be in it for the long haul. And it is just like having a P&L, a profit and loss statement, and you work through and you take your profits, put them back into the business, and you grow them because there are going to be some losses involved, and you have to be able to work through those losses.
Right. So is that how you were able to overcome some of those challenges and losses because you had really, put the profits into the business and had sort of maybe a nest egg or
Yes, yes. We were fortunate enough to where I had a full-time career. When we launched this, my son was doing this full-time. And so one of the things that we promised each other is that we would pour the profits back into the business and then pull just enough out for him to have his, fixed expenses he had personally. But beyond that, we were pouring the profits back into the business to keep buying over and over and to absorb any losses we were taking.
right. So how long did it take for you to become profitable in this business, all on its own?
Well, I think we're very fortunate because within 30 days of literally working out of our garage, we were able to rent a small warehouse, and we were still selling things individually. And I would say, really honestly, within 45 days, we were already operating in the black and able to grow forward, and then started selling pallets.
Now, do you think that is sort of an anomaly, or is that something that people, who are just getting into this business could expect?
I think that it is, it's the 80-20 rule that we always hear. And it is obviously, the old adage that people say is hard work and doing your due diligence, and having something set aside to build from, and having a little bit of a nest egg and not just jumping out there 100%. And that's, I think, the balance that my son and I were able to do. And one of the things that, if you don't mind me adding, is that we're very proud of, is that we've been able to help a lot of other buyers do this same thing. And they have today went on and and opened their own stores, their own warehouses, because of, our passion and sharing what we've done. They've been able to do the same thing. And I think that's really what this is about, is really helping others prosper.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
So
Do
you
others first.
What is it?
Do for others first, and then everything else will work itself out.
Absolutely. So you mentioned some of the first avenues that you used to sell were yard sales and Facebook. Are those still methods that you're using, or as a supplement, or kind of how did your sales channel evolve from start to where you are today?
I'll add to that. So whenever we were selling items individually from the pallets, yes, we would post them on Facebook and we would post them on eBay. We would have our yard sales. Once we opened up our warehouse, we started to slowly transition to selling the whole pallet. So we actually now sell it by the pallet. So we do utilize Facebook quite a bit on Marketplace for that whole pallet. And we also, use the ads and stuff on Facebook. Google, we use that. And yeah, so we don't sell anything individually anymore unless the pallet is just one item, which in that scenario, we would try to sell it in our warehouse by the pallet. Or if it doesn't sell, we do try to sell things on Facebook, on eBay. We just move things as they come in whatever shape or way or form we can.
Okay. And with the pallets, I believe from your website, it looks like you sell them actually in person and then also through your website, correct?
Correct.
That's
yes.
correct.
Okay. And how do you market, those sort of opportunities?
So I can add to that. So Marketplace is a tremendous place to advertise even pallets. And one thing I would encourage anyone that's going to get in this business and create it as a business is a GMB, a Google My Business page, is the most important thing that I can tell anyone, because that is actually more important than a website, because people are using keyword searches as wholesale, liquidation, pallets, on and on. And if you have a presence on Google with a GMB, then they can find you. You can list your address, you can put nice pictures up there, you can put your business hours, and then most importantly is have your customers write reviews, because the greatest majority of customers are going to look at a review before they ever talk to you. And that is something that you always have to remember as a business owner as you start to scale, is starting there on Google, which is one of the most sought after key search engines out there, is having that. And then of course, if you do want to do a website, that's okay. But the most important thing, in just my opinion, is a GMB, a Google My Business page, and then using other facets like Jordan mentioned, Facebook Marketplace. We now have over 4,000 members in our 2 Facebook groups. We have 2 private Facebook groups, and we do a tremendous amount of marketing there. And then we created a text group, and we have over 1,000 members in our text group. And so we use all different forms and facets of advertising. As a business owner, you can't just have one funnel. You have to have multiple funnels that you're working, and each one may work differently for that week or that month. And but you got to be consistent, if there's anything I would tell anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest tip to anybody getting into this is there's a lot of advertising out there. There's social media. There's all these different platforms that you can be on to spread the word about you for people to get people to learn about you. So as a new person coming into it, you should use every single avenue you can. You should do Facebook. You should do YouTube videos. You should do unboxing videos of whatever you can, as much as you can. Do as much marketing and spreading the word about yourself as much as you can. We live in an age where you can do all of it from one desk. You can literally, people in California can see you and we're in Georgia. In the day and age that we live in, we have to take advantage of it. Where I mean, social media is very good on spreading brand awareness or your store, or what items you're selling, but really just capturing every opportunity to get yourself out there is very important. And you have to be self-driven as well. Doing this, your success is based off of how much you put in. So if you really want to be successful, then there's going to be a lot of late nights and a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned that text group. Do you guys use WhatsApp for that, or is there a certain program?
Textedly is the name of the one that we use. We did a lot of research on looking at text platforms. We did try one other platform that became quite expensive as we added more members, and then Textedly does not do that, which so it's very cost efficient.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it seems like the marketing aspect of it is huge. I mean, I
very
feel
much
like
so.
it's easy to think of this business as not super sexy and maybe not super marketing or video worthy, but just like any business, it seems like you're saying, it's very important to utilize all those channels.
Very, very.
Definitely.
Digital marketing is very, very important and always touching on all those facets. If there was be four things, Elena, that I would tell somebody,
Hmm.
the four keys to the pallet industry. Number one would be inventory. Number two would be continuously engaging your customers. And number three would be presentation of your pallets and your merchandise. And the fourth thing would be consistent and engaging marketing to bring more new customers in to purchase. That's really the baseline, the basis of what this business is about if you want to be successful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what about when you do have a lot of damaged or unsellable items? What's your process for handling those?
Jordan, you
I,
want to touch on that?
Yeah, I remember a day where I think we had gone through. It was in our first warehouse. We were brand new, and we had some items that I think it was like a couple of like instant pots, some kitchen stuff, and it was just stuff we were gonna throw away. And my dad was like, "Why don't you post that on Facebook?" It was like $1,000 worth of stuff if it worked. So post it saying that it's broken and see if somebody will buy it. And sure enough, like the next day, somebody came to buy, even if it was just $50. All right, it was gonna go in the garbage. Even if it's just $50, somebody bought it to sell for parts. Like even broken stuff can be sold for parts. So really, maximizing every dollar is important. I mean, that was $50 that we wouldn't have got unless we made that post, right? So even though it doesn't seem valuable to you since you can't sell it, it's still valuable to somebody.
Yes.
There's people out there that buy broken TVs, where the screens are broken, but there's still good parts in them. Like it just so in the scenario where we have broken items and stuff, well, which is something that we don't really deal with anymore since we sell the whole pallet. But when we used to sell individual items, you still try to get at least $1 out of it, even if it's just $1. Okay, that's gonna add up. So really just try to salvage every bit of it. Now we have thrown stuff away for sure, but anytime that we would have a bunch of things that were broken, we would try to sell them just for a little bit of money.
And
Now,
that's a key point. That's a key point that he's making too, because think about that. If you advertise that item that you were going to throw away and you get X, Y, or Z amount out of it, you have another opportunity to talk to a customer.
Exactly.
because once they get in your door, you have an opportunity to upsell them and to win them over on who you are as a business, because now they may go home and tell their neighbor, their cousin, their aunt, whoever, because they saw something else while they're at your business, while they were buying that $5 Instapot that had a cracked piece on it or what have you. So it's just another opportunity to possibly upsell a customer.
Yeah,
And
get referrals.
to add even more to that, this is how when we first started, and we still are to this day. This is how marketing friendly and how aggressive we are with this. We have so there's a lot of people that still don't know about the industry. Okay, so the mailman in our first location, we invited him inside one time because he was asking, "What do y'all do here?" And so we've even sold stuff to the mailman. Um, Anytime we have a chance when somebody's at our door or on Facebook or wherever, we always try to chase it to the end. We try to see it all the way through. So even just selling broken items, they come by, they see you. Next thing you know, they could buy something, they might not. But if you do it 10 times and one person buys, it was worth it, right? So every single opportunity that you have, you try to seize it. It's very important. That's why we do the Facebook group. Repeat customers are some of the most important customers there are. That's a lot of like if somebody's buying something from you and they paid half a retail for it, okay, they're gonna come back to you again when they need something else. Why would they spend the full price? So really the returning customers and also everybody seems to like the industry. I think it's cool. So like I said, even the mailman we've sold items to, or UPS man, anybody, the garbage people that come, that they stop by and walk in our warehouse. So any opportunity you have, try to seize it for sure.
Yeah. So, how have you had to possibly adapt your strategy over time, and if applicable? I mean, I know you went from kind of individual items to pallets. Other than that, are there any parts of the business that you've had to kind of adapt and evolve over time?
Yeah, definitely. So we've gone from buying pallets from me driving to pick up my pallets to now hiring a truck driver to go and pick up the truckload that I buy. So we buy truckloads now, really only truckloads now, as we sell so many pallets that 3 pallets coming in isn't going to supply it. So now we have to deal with freight. So I have learned how to deal with the freight, the truck drivers, the BOLs, the um, talking to the facilities, and then sometimes the wrong things get ordered. So there's definitely a lot when we scaled from just picking up a couple pallets to picking up 10 trucks a week, which is about what we do out of just 1 year locations. Um, out of the Palmetto Lowe's location, we do about 10 to 15 a week. So we've definitely had to grow. We've had to bring more people on board to kind of delegate some of the tasks to them so that we can achieve more. But as far as since we've scaled, we've had to learn how to deal with freight. And when you're bringing in more product like we are by the truckload, we've got different items that we've never seen before, never tried to sell. So we've had to, let's say we get pallets of construction supplies. Well, now we have to market to construction people that might be in the construction business. So really, it's every time a truckload comes in, it's a new task. Sometimes you don't have the customers that would buy it, so you have to find the customers that would buy it.
So when you buy a truckload, you don't really get to determine the product types, or at least not fully. Is that correct?
Well, so there's 2 different types of truckloads that we buy. We buy unmanifested, so we have no idea what it is. We're guaranteed that it's a full truckload, and then we have manifested, which we do on a manifested load. We know everything that's coming on the load. We know what's on each pallet, what the retail is of each pallet, and most of the time we know what we're going to sell it for before it even gets to us. So
Okay, you do both.
mhm.
Do you find that that's an approach you'd recommend to all people
Yes,
to scale up?
yeah. Well, so yeah, if you're trying to scale to that point, there's people that still that sell individual items that don't sell it by the pallet and have scaled to, multiple locations, and they have retail stores and they're making very good money, or there's people that are selling pallets now that are making really good money. So either way you do it, it's a good um, it's a good thing to do, whether it's individually or by the pallet. So uh, either way, it works either way.
Okay. So would you say, like, for someone just starting, you mentioned that you kind of had that nest egg and sort of a plan in place. How much capital do you think somebody really needs in order to start out this kind of business?
Yeah. So somebody that's just starting out, see, I think honestly, it depends on how much that you want to make. So I think honestly, I would say about $500
Okay.
just to start out with one pallet.
Yeah.
Some people start out with $1,000. Some people start out with $2,000. Even as little as, I mean, we have pallets for $100. So even $100, you can make $200 off of. You can, resell everything 200 and you make $100. So really, I think 500 is a really good starting place. I think that you can get, one or two pallets for $500, and I think that, yeah, that's about where we started.
Yeah, that's incredible, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about helping other people, because it's really such an approachable barrier to entry, that anyone with a little bit of grit and a little bit of cash can get started.
Yes, for sure,
Yep.
definitely.
So what would you say, if you could, what would be the best advice you could give to someone starting out? A little pep talk or words of wisdom?
Hmm.
Well, I think the first thing I would tell anybody for anything is you got to start, and,
That is
and
it.
and to never overthink, right? Um, yes, do your due diligence and understand your market, the city you're in, and what are people selling on marketplace, and what are you seeing on eBay. But first and foremost, start, and to learn by doing. And liquidation.com is a great place that we started with, and that is a great way to start. You have other people like ourselves that buy from you, and we sell pallets, and customers can start here at a local business like somebody like us,
Okay.
and where they can touch and feel the pallet and see the actual merchandise. Whether maybe they're more comfortable buying online, and that's awesome, but then you got people like us that they can buy from, that are buying from you, and they can actually see the merchandise. And so it's really up to you as an individual. What are you comfortable with? But first and foremost, start, and don't overthink it. But we always, there is due diligence involved, and just do one pallet at a time, one item at a time, and live and learn from each time, and ask questions to your customers each time they come in.
Yeah, I think that my tips for a first time buyer would be, do research on what you. So I would say honestly, I would buy something that you're comfortable with, that you know. Okay. I wouldn't buy. I don't know much about. Let's just say I don't know much about computers. Okay, so I'm not gonna buy a pallet of computers. I'm gonna buy a pallet of kitchen stuff. Okay, I know kitchen stuff. People love kitchen stuff. So I would buy something I'm comfortable with my first time around. That way I know maybe my friends, okay, maybe they like the same stuff as that pallet, so I could sell it first to my friends and family. It's unbelievable. Like I would say 90% of people that buy a pallet for the first time can sell everything to their first circle of friends, right? Their family and their friends, and then their relatives that are out, like cousins. So I think that it's almost immediately that you can sell your first pallet just to your small group of people. That's why I recommend buying something you're comfortable with and that you know for your first one. Also, what's very, very important is buying from somebody that you trust, but somebody that is reputable. Okay, so you want to buy from people with good reviews. There are so many people out doing it now that it's definitely need to have good reviews. Um, and let's see what else. I think that's about as far as the start. Oh, keep track of your sales and versus what you paid for the pallet. You only know you're only doing as good as you know you're doing, right? So that's something that we used to do. We used to have a whiteboard, and whenever we would buy a pallet, we'd put how much we paid for the pallet, and then we would everything on the pallet we would price what we were going to sell it for, add it all up, and subtract that from what we paid, and we knew how much we were going to make potentially. So keeping track of what you're going to make is very important because when it comes to negotiation on stuff, you know how much you can negotiate.
What year did you and your dad start the business again?
2020.
Oh, 2020. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So you
Oh
were
no, I'm sorry. No. 2019.
2019.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
I was like, oh, pretty new. So you started out with one pallet, you mentioned, right? And at this point, about how many pallets or truckloads are you doing per week or month?
Now, I would say that we do 15 a week,
15 truckloads or pallets?
truckloads a week. Well, we have it's an unbelievable story. So I think you picked the right people to talk to. Our story.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we tell
think so
people,
too.
and it gives them hope, and it gives them I'm self-employed now. I had worked for AT&T for 5 years, and I was in the oil field, and working for myself. I definitely in the liquidation industry. I'm definitely here for a long time, so I
Awesome.
definitely enjoy it.
Well, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.